Welcome to Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women.
Stories and advice about moving forward, punching through that glass ceiling, pushing harder, and blazing trails from women we really admire.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women. I'm Liz Brohan.
And I'm Mary Olivieri, and this is where we dole out wisdom, advice, and stories from women who have been there and done that. And for today specifically, who sometimes feel like they shouldn't be there at all.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about imposter syndrome, which I think we all have experienced at one time or another. So we're going to peel back this onion and, hopefully just flip it on its head. So stay tuned, because the women that are with us today to talk about this, they are some high-powered individuals, right? Two of them own their own business, and the other one is an executive in business. So they know what they're talking about. And by the way, they have their own podcast. It's called The Broadcast for Manufacturers. So lots of muscle there. All right. So let's get started. Let me introduce you to these three women who are going to flip this issue on its head. Today we have Erin Courtney, Chris Harrington, and Lori Hghby. Yay!
Welcome, ladies. We're so glad that you're here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is awesome.
Thank you for joining us. We know you're pros in the podcast space, so we really appreciate having that level of expertise here on the couch. Now, Liz is talking about imposter syndrome, right? And I always like to tell the story of when I was standing in front of a really powerful panel of Procter & Gamble, C-suite level executives. And in my head, I'm going, I'm only 12 years old, I'm just a little teenage girl or barely, and really being afraid of it. But I think that we were really curious about, what happens when you find yourself in a scenario like that? How can we flip the script and make it more about, wow, I'm here. Maybe I don't feel like I belong, but how can we turn that into something more powerful? Is that right, Liz?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just kind of get started. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about this topic and how it affected you or still does in your career.
Yeah. You guys want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
So I'll start and just say that I think it's really important just to say that it shows up a lot throughout a career, right? I think it's normal. That's something that I really want to make sure that women and anyone really need to hear, is that it's okay and this is normal. So I would say that for me, anytime I've been experiencing a first, that's when it really shows up for me. So let's say it's in its simplest form, the first time I'm really opening up and raising my hand in a meeting to speak or speak up in a larger group. And a lot of times I'm a single woman in a room full of men, and you're debating whether your ideas are worth it or valuable to the rest of the team, right? Or whether it's doing a webinar, if it's been speaking in front of a group of people, if it's negotiating with a large client, or even preparing for a podcast like this, right? I think the first time you do anything, you question, do I belong here? And the reality is, what is often happening is that just means we're stretching ourselves. And the stretch is often, it's really nerves along with not doing it before. So I've noticed for myself that anytime I'm doing something for the first time, this happens. And the way I kind of flip the script is I try to think about this not so much as having nerves and saying I'm nervous, but saying something like I'm excited. Because if I say to myself, I'm excited, then it's more about the opportunity to deliver information. And then the more that I practice it, the more that I do it, the more that I speak up in a meeting, the more that I speak in front of a group of people, the more I negotiate, then I get comfortable, and less am I thinking that I belong. It's not about belonging anymore. I feel comfortable and I'm there.
You know, Erin, I think you have a story or something about taking those nerves and turning them into something really powerful. Or I could be wrong, but that's what a little bird, her name is Liz Brohan, told me.
Just to give you some background on myself, as a kid, we moved a lot. I went to 10 different elementary schools.
Yikes.
By the
Wow.
time I had graduated. And the reasons for that are another podcast.
Okay.
So I was new a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't belong because you're the new kid in school. So it became second nature to navigate that. But when I heard the term imposter syndrome, and I feel like a lot of people get this, a light goes on and you're like, I'm not alone. Like just the term itself
Yeah, I
has
like that.
really just helped me go through that experience and know that I'll be okay. I have a funny story.
Yeah.
Just
We
so
love a
happens.
funny story.
So, when I graduated from college, I was qualified for not very much. I had taken all the courses I wanted to, and none of the ones you needed in order to get a job. But I did find myself working as an archaeologist in Alaska. I just happened to make that happen. I was not an archaeologist. I had no idea what I was doing. And the imposter syndrome was kind of scary because I was surrounded by people who were experts in their field. And wouldn't you know, I had a boss who was a very bizarre man, and he decided
Haven't we all?
that he was another podcast.
Yes, exactly.
And he decided that a good place to have me doing my excavation would be right in the middle of town, that's Skagway, Alaska, which is where all of the cruise ships come up and then thousands of people get off and the ladies go shopping and the men are bored out of their skulls and they want to talk to the little girl in a cage. The man had me in a cage doing archaeology. I became an archaeologist in the spotlight right then. And I was scared, but I also felt like none of you are archaeologists. So suddenly I really am the expert. And I was able to transcend the imposter syndrome because I had to.
You know, it's
You know?
interesting because you're hitting on like that idea of fake it till you make it, right? And I don't like that phrase, honestly, because I don't think it is really faking. I do think statistically, though, about how, and I know we've all read about this, how like when men are applying for a job, they think they're more than qualified when they don't meet half the criteria. And if women feel like if we don't meet everything on there, we're absolutely not qualified, right? So there is power in faking it till you make it. Lori, I'm turning to you because you haven't had a turn to talk and we're very sharing and caring here. at this
thank
podcast. Do you have a story about when you just had to fake it till you made it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we all
everybody
have.
does.
Actually.
Who
that's right.
doesn't?
I mean, and it is like what you said, Chris, it's the first time. It really is where that imposter syndrome comes in. I taught at UW Milwaukee for many years. I taught B2B sales and marketing and principles of marketing. And as an adjunct professor who has a full-time job career, right? It was nights that I would do this. And the first time I taught, the school, unfortunately, didn't really like, here's an onboarding program. It's just, here's your classroom and you start at this date. So I walked into a classroom of 50 sets of eyeballs staring at me, ready to learn. And I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And I just kind of went through the motions of what I remember and recall from what, being a college professor experience should be. Absolutely terrified, but, shaking probably the first 20 minutes of this 3-hour lecture. But I got through it. And, I did it for about 4 years and I absolutely loved it. Terrified from when I started, but at the end of the semester, I had a handful of students come up to me saying, I was one of their favorite professors.
Yeah, see.
And so I think it's just trusting your gut, even though you're scared, and working through that. And I very much believe in imposter syndrome. If you have that fear, that means you're on a growth journey, right? You're stepping outside of your comfort zone, and it's giving you an opportunity to take yourself personally and professionally to that next stage. You just have to get over that hurdle. And for whatever reason, we have this inner blockage that's like telling us, no, we can't do this, but we have to push outside that barrier And that's what takes us to that next step.
Well, I wonder, pardon me, but
Yeah,
I
go.
do wonder if the rest of you experienced this. I don't think I ever got over it. In fact, the more I was able to climb the ladder in my career, the louder that voice got sometimes. And so I'm just wondering, do you agree with that or
100%.
Yes, I feel.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
I would say it continues to show up throughout my life for sure. I think any moment I'm stretching myself, it shows up. Any moment. And that just means I'm doing something new or difficult. And as a woman, that's why I say it's normal. It is going to show up, and we have to flip the script. Sometimes we fake it till we make it, but it is strengthening us to do. You have to show up and move through it. And that really becomes, I think, the way that I've handled it in my career. I can tell you, as far as a story, I never thought I would be the CEO of my own organization. And the moment I got the CEO title, nobody has a training manual for being a CEO, right? You ladies know this too, right? So all of a sudden, you're responsible for the culture, the people, the performance of the company, answering to a board. And it's scary. But, you know, there's a lot of things that I didn't know how to do yet. And if I could keep that word yet in front of me, it was the knowledge that I will learn it, but I've got to do it, because really the growth is in the doing. Nobody can do it for you.
Yeah.
You've got to get in, you got to do it, you got to roll up your sleeves, you got to show up. And then it gets more comfortable until you're stretched again, and then you're going to feel it again. Right? I agree with you. It's
just do it, and like you got it right.
Well, you know, you use the word yet, right? And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Carol Dweck, and she is an educator, and she talks a lot about adding the word yet. And I think that's a really good tool for our listeners. If you're experiencing imposter syndrome, add the word yet to it, right? I spent my whole life, I call it filling my jelly donut. I filled myself with, I can't do math. I can't do math. And then when I read Carol Dweck's work, it rhymes. When I read Carol's stuff about adding yet, you know, and having some grit, I'm like, I can't do math yet. But that gives you hope, and it makes you feel like it's possible, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you used that word.
Yeah.
Another thing, Lori, you hit on was you had to overcome that out loud.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm wondering, were there any techniques as you look back on it that really helped you? I mean, you were standing there. You couldn't hide behind a computer and pretend you were doing something. You had to do it in the moment in front of people. Was there anything that you leaned on for that?
You know, I think it is a lot of the mindset, flipping the script. And instead of being, I'm super nervous, which we all are like, I shouldn't be here. Why am I even here? How did I get here? It's reframing it to, this is a huge learning and growth opportunity for me. I need to be excited about this, kind of like what you were saying, Chris. And just, I personally am a fan of trying to conquer my fears. So if fear is in front of me, I will push myself through that because I know it's a growth opportunity. And I think that's a mental state that can be hard to get to. So just intentionally asking yourself, why am I afraid? Or how can I rephrase this to turn it into excitement and enthusiasm? So I like to say, I'm excited about this growth opportunity.
I think another tip is like when one of you talked about being in the boardroom and sitting there going, oh my gosh. I always think about the fact that, or we've learned this, especially as we grow older, that nobody really knows what they're doing, you know? And I think that's another tip for listeners is just remember, a lot of people around you who seem confident and, you know, they don't always know what they're doing either. They're just playing into that confidence model.
Yeah.
And picking up from that, I think part of what, for me, imposter syndrome is a sense that you don't belong. That everybody else belongs and knows they have a sense of belonging, and yet you individually do not. But following on what you said, if you recall that everybody can have that sense, and if you welcome people, if you take on the courage to be welcoming to people,
I like that.
That's a great
so when you're in that environment, you're letting other people relieve themselves of that fear that they're having with their own imposter
I think
syndrome.
that's gold. I think it's gold.
great. Yeah.
And I know we've been talking about nerves and how you overcome nerves. And another tip that I think our listeners might appreciate is that the way that I overcome nerves is to make sure that I know my material frontward and backward, because then I've overcome that fear you were just talking about when I walk into a situation where I'm not prepared. I don't care if it's a meeting or a speaking engagement. I'm going to know this stuff inside and out.
Yeah.
I think, the knowledge increases the confidence, right?
Preparation has always been a key for me, and I played a lot of sports, and I always use the metaphor that in sports, you practiced, right? So you showed up to a game and you never thought after you practiced basketball, you knew you belonged because you had practiced. That's going back to that first. The first time you're doing something, you don't always get the practice ahead of time, but to prepare for the times where you're nervous, you can do the practice and the nerves will lessen. And at that point, then it's just about delivering the value you wanted to bring anyway in the thing that you prepared for.
And bring your personality to life
That's
too. Right.
Yeah.
Do it in front of a mirror. Practice in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. I don't always show up prepared, but I take a little different tactic.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a really big, important meeting, of course I'm prepared. But there are times where you're not going to be as prepared as you like to be. And that's where the whole improv thing comes in, the whole yes and thing. So I moved to Chicago because of that reason, right?
Oh, cool.
So that was the goal. So the whole yes and aspect too, I think can really help people, right? Not saying, yes, I'm an imposter, but saying, yes, I'm in this situation and I can bring something to bear for this.
Yeah.
And use the other people if you're in a group situation. Usually that's where imposter syndrome shows up. I mean, maybe you're sitting at your desk going, what am I doing here? Why am I excavating in the middle of downtown?
Yeah.
Somewhere in
Skagway. Okay. But that idea of going to that yes and aspect, leaning in with the other people at the table, that'll always kind of help you overcome, right? I don't know. I feel like that's...
Yeah.
And to drive on that point, I think
You
sometimes...
just yes-anded it.
She yawned.
Yeah.
But I think that... oh, goodness. I forgot what I was going to say.
Yes, and.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I lost it.
But agreeing with people in the room, right?
Yeah.
And finding like that wave and riding that wave, because you mentioned...
Oh, we don't need to be perfect. I'm sorry.
No,
I really
I
wanted
was
to say
I was
that. I wanted to
stretching.
I think
a great
sometimes
point.
we think about the imposter syndrome because we're trying to be perfect. We think that there is this level of
Interesting.
perfection, right? We don't need to be perfect in every situation. And I think my advice to women, at least, would be as you get older, you lose a lot of that. So just keep leaning into your life, your career, getting more comfortable with who you are. And as you get more comfortable with who you are, you're going to start to realize nobody's perfect.
Right.
You're not going to be perfect in every scenario. And when you let go of perfection, everything else opens up. So you don't always have to be so prepared.
Yeah, when I look at perfection, I don't think it's a word that should exist because everyone's definition of it is going to be different. So what your definition of perfection is going to be different from mine. So at the end of the day, no one's going to be happy with perfection anyway. So I just try to eliminate that from my vocabulary.
Yes,
Yeah.
I like it.
And target, right?
Let's eliminate it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're done. Bye-bye.
Mary brought up an interesting point about how sometimes imposter syndrome can kind of creep up on you even when you're alone at your desk, right? And I think the way we all overcome that over the years is by asking better questions. I mean, when I started, my career, nobody was really encouraged to ask questions. Everybody thought you were hired. You know how to do this. And of course, I'd sit at my desk going, I don't even know the first step to take.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's just lean on your bosses, lean on your mentors.
I
ask
can't
better
agree more.
questions.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
I love that too. Go ahead, Erin.
Oh, yes, and. I actually was going to follow on that yes, and comment because I think it's kind of about what I was you're creating community. And community is such a good way to overcome imposter syndrome. I belong because we are all here together and we all belong together. And if you can be creating that environment for other people, then you can feel like you belong because you're part of a community.
You're hitting on something as well as you did, Liz, about if you're a younger woman in the world and you're really struggling with this, look to the older women, or more seasoned, as we like to use euphemisms, right? The seasoned women in your life and in your work world, and lean on them for sure. It's another great way because they will tell you that they have been there too. And a really good mentor will lift you up and help you feel that confidence until you can gain it for yourself. And it all comes from experience, really. It's just doing it over and over again, following that fear and being in pain.
Yeah. I have a story to share with that, actually.
Yes.
A gal who was an intern for me probably about 10 something years ago. She started her own freelance business and then she shut the doors and started working for someone else. And I'd say the last year she's kind of been struggling to figure out what she wants to do with her career. She reached out to me on LinkedIn and said she was considering going the freelance route, starting her own agency again, and was just absolutely terrified because she struggled so much the first time that she did it. And she actually asked me, like, have I ever had imposter syndrome running my own agency? And I was absolutely. It hits me
almost every other
constantly.
day.
Yeah, like this is just part of it, but you have to lean into it and really not be afraid to ask these types of questions, actually. And I love the community content that you shared because I think having other people around to lift you up is going to help push you forward as well. You know, I'm part of a roundtable group for my industry, you know, other marketing agency owners. And I've brought to the meetings, like, I don't think I should run an agency, you know, and they're like, you are one of the smartest people here, Lori. You definitely know what you're doing. But it's sometimes you need someone else to kind of validate and set you on the right path again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I like going back to that mentor idea. Flipping that around too, when you're the one looking for a mentor, you might have imposter syndrome that you're asking, but doesn't it feel great when somebody asks you for help?
Oh,
Isn't that an amazing feeling?
What you're bringing in here, Erin, is trigger thought, right? Which is if you are mentoring or you are a mentee, as a mentor, you should be saying to these young women, don't forget what you're good at, right? And start with what you're good at, right? And then let the other things that you don't feel so confident in, that's okay. But if you're feeling like an imposter, you are in this place for a reason. Go to the places that you feel most confident and then let that almost do a ripple effect, you know?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do your own SWOT analysis on yourself.
Yeah. Strengths Finder is a great tool for that.
Yes.
Nice.
Lean into your strengths. I always encourage women when I'm mentoring to volunteer for work that brings out their strengths. Because
Great
sometimes
advice.
you're
That's
in a
great
role,
advice.
right? You're in a role and not everything that you're doing is your strength. And it's not even something that brings you a lot of value or fills your bucket. So volunteer for the stuff that does. People will notice that you're good at it because you're going to bring your passion, your excitement, and all of it's going to show up. And then people will look to you to give you more work there. And that's where you'll grow in your organization.
That also goes for leaders and executives like all of you. It's up to us to find and understand the strengths in the people that we're working with and then play to those strengths.
Yes, it
So
is.
that they never feel like they really maybe have to find them on their own because I've defined them and I want you to go do this because I know you'll be great at it. Yeah,
I want to
think
go
that's-
back and like double click on what you said about volunteering. Don't you hate that phrase? I hate jargon, but I just used it. I'm going to double click on the whole volunteering thing. I think that that's a really great tip because either you volunteer at something that you are already really good at, but when you volunteer for something and maybe you're not so great at it, you're doing it for free. So it can also be a proving ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Like volunteer for something maybe that you're not highly confident in because you're getting free education. You're doing something wonderful and philanthropic and you can post it all over your platforms. But I love the idea of how to leverage volunteering and, as it relates to imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and I kind of took that to mean volunteer for projects,
Yes,
at
that's
the
usually
office.
what I mean.
Oh, sorry. I was
that's a
like,
great
thinking-
point.
Yeah. You can be literal.
That's
fine.
Yeah, no, but that was what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah, but I like the way that where you went with it as well, for sure.
Yeah, just it's nice to do good things for people, and if I think it can draw and bring up more of that confidence, and you're not worried about the offsetting the paycheck for it. Either.
Yeah.
Right. The gratitude is built in,
Yeah.
which for me is a huge motivator. If people appreciate what I do, I'll do anything. I will literally do anything
that's
for
a great
praise.
thing to
True.
remember.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Be liberal with praise.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to play a little game, but before we do that, all right. Any parting tips we've given our listeners a lot to think about, but just wanted to circle back, as Mary would jargon, and ask, what else? Anything else? Are we missing anything?
Yeah, I'll share. And you kind of just touched on it, Erin, but gratitude, or more reflecting back and celebrating the little wins that you have and making note of them. Because when we're down, which is part of that imposter syndrome, really having those little nuggets of positivity and great successes can help elevate us real quickly.
I'll also share that I have this little mantra. I don't even think I've ever shared this with you ladies, but it's something I've used for a very long time. And it is show up, do the work, leave people better than you found them. And it's a reminder for me.
that.
I use this
So
all the
you.
time. And, showing up just reminds me to be prepared as I can be. Do the work is really about being present. When I'm there, phones are off. I'm there. Whatever is the situation, I'm there. I'm going to be present, and then leave people better than. I don't work in an area where it's surgery or something so critical that it's life or death. So we have to have a little joy and fun in what we're doing. And if you can bring that joy and just leave people with just a better feeling that they spent time with you, that makes it purposeful.
Yeah.
So it brings purpose into everything, and that helps me with imposter syndrome as well. So I'll share my little mantra.
I love that. Can we
Yeah.
get on like a T-shirt or
Sure.
something?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Everybody listening, and I try and convey this to other people. You belong, and you are wanted. You belong.
Very
we all
true.
belong.
I love that.
Another great mantra. You belong.
Well, it's like doubt doesn't have to stop you, right? It can actually point to the fact that you're leveling up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to close out the day with a little bit of fun. Each of us are going to name a kick-ass woman that we think experienced imposter syndrome, whether it's true or not.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said whether it's true or not, because I feel like, yeah.
You want me to go first?
Sure,
Yes.
go for it.
I will. Mine's Kelly Clarkson. When she was asked to do a talk show, like to take over for Ellen, I got a feeling that lady was a deer in headlights.
Oh, yeah. Great point.
and that, I don't know if she had to fake it till she made it, but man, that lady made it.
Yeah.
So she was kind of my thought.
Okay, so the one that pops into my mind, we just got done with U.S. Open tennis, Naomi Osaka. So if anybody knows about her experience, she is a champion tennis player. She struggled with, she was very public about her struggles with, how she belonged and the pressure to perform and mental health. And, after watching her at the U.S. Open, she was smiling. She had joy. She's back at it, and she's phenomenal. So I would imagine she had some when she came back into tennis of, do I belong here? And yes, she does. Yes, she does belong. Her racket has proved it. Too,
Yeah,
so it's
for
good.
sure.
I'm ready with mine if you need another minute.
Go, Lori.
So the first name that came into my brain was Michelle Obama. I think she just always comes up showing so polished and, and eloquent in what she says. But I'm sure, just like every other woman that's out there, there's some level of imposter syndrome.
Well, she's been pretty transparent, I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
I think that's one of the things that makes her so lovely.
Yeah.
Is that she said, I was not ready for,
Sure.
Yeah. No, she definitely comes to my mind as well. Yeah.
Erin and Lori, I would agree. Like that's who popped into my head.
Yeah.
And the reason is because there's very few women who have experience being the first lady.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's nobody to talk to about that usually, or very few people to talk to about that. So that's where I was with you.
Yeah.
That was mine. What about you, Erin? Is there one that comes up for you?
Well, just recently, I was listening to an interview with Mariska Hargitay from what's the show?
The Law and Order.
Law and Order.
yeah.
And she was talking about her mom, who was Jane Mansfield.
Jane Mansfield, yeah.
She was a buxom blonde and sort of like a follow-on to Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, Jane Mansfield was brilliant, like a genius. She spoke 5 languages. She could play the violin, and yet she had to play the bimbo blonde, breathy blonde in order to make it in Hollywood. And so it's kind of a reverse imposter, right? She had to be the imposter of a lesser than she was. And it's just it's a documentary that just came out, and I think it'll be really interesting.
It's fabulous.
About her.
I saw
you
it.
saw it?
Yeah. I think it's on Netflix, but don't quote me.
That sounds right.
I think that is another topic for
Another
words
topic,
words
yes.
of wisdom from kick-ass women when we've had to dumb it down.
That's a great
Write that one down.
We've got like a whole list of the next year of our editorial calendar going on here.
Well, this was fabulous, ladies. We can't thank you enough. What a great topic, and you all slayed it. I'm feeling like, we're going to get rid of imposter syndrome.
Let's do that. So I just to plug our lovely guests there, all from the broadcast, get it? The Broadcast for Manufacturers podcast. So they know a thing or two about what we're doing right here and right now. We'll link their show in the notes of this episode. And to reiterate what Liz said, thank you so much for being here. I had so much fun.
This was great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very
Ladies,
quickly,
was
tell our
fantastic.
listeners where they can contact each of you if they want to continue.
LinkedIn would be a great spot.
LinkedIn?
for me.
LinkedIn. I post
Okay,
every day.
everybody. I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah.
And as always, stay kick-ass, right?
Yeah, and very quickly, I want to thank our sponsors as well. We have a great sponsor. It's the Motion Agency. They are the largest independent, women-owned marketing communications firm, kind of in the land, for sure in Chicago, but I think it's much broader than that. So give them a check, all right? Take care, and thank you again.